Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Okay guys, I am super excited. We are back. It is Wednesday and the lovely Suzanne Dibble has come on to join us to talk to us about the real sales strategies behind the success. Welcome Suzanne, it is amazing to have you.
I'm absolutely delighted to be here.
So we've got an interesting topic coming up today and we've literally just been having a little pre-podcast recording chat about it. And I mean, I guess for those people who don't know you, I found Suzanne when I was struggling with a little thing that you might have heard of called GDPR. And back, I don't know, what are we talking, earlier this year? It feels like it's been forever already.
I think people started getting interested in it in February of this year. The regulations came into force at the end of May, but probably sort of, April and May, it was all business people seemed to be talking about.
So I found you at that point in time because I was like, okay, GDPR, not really entirely sure what it is, not really entirely sure what we need to do to cover the business for that. And somebody said, Suzanne Dibble has this pack. And I was like, oh, cool. Somebody's created a pack that specifically solves my GDPR problems. And I bought the pack and subsequently bought into your Small Business Legal Academy because I personally loved the transparency that you had around this is an issue. We don't know everything about it yet, but here's what you can be doing to prep yourself in the meantime. And here's how you can be protecting your business and working towards being compliant and all of those great things. And that was how I stumbled across you. And I was really happy because obviously you're in the UK and I'm in the UK and it's not often that I get to meet other entrepreneurs who live in the same country as me. And people, once I started saying your name, people were like, oh, I know Suzanne Dibble. Yeah, I know her too. So tell us, what's the formal bio behind what I'm feeling is like the best kept legal secret in the entrepreneurial world?
Now, how long have you got? Do you want the extended bio or the short version?
I'll give whatever you like.
For the sake of the listeners, I'll give you the short version. So the kind of short version, I suppose, but I have to start. I trained at the world's largest law firm and qualified into doing mergers and acquisitions. So the types of deals that you'd read about in the FT, £1 billion deals across, 50 countries, that kind of stuff. In 2010, I decided that I wanted to, probably 2009, I met my now husband, decided that I wanted to have a family and realised that working 20-hour days was inconsistent with ever seeing my family. So I thought, okay, what else can I do? So I wanted to set up my own business. I've had an entrepreneurial yearning since I worked with Richard Branson in Virgin in 2003. And I was thinking, what can I set my own business up? And I was struggling to think of anything I was good at apart from law. And I came up with a big fat zero. The only thing I knew anything about, it would seem, was law. So I set up my own business in 2010, just before I got pregnant with my first child. And I was really passionate about helping other women like me. So women who'd had corporate jobs, but had left them to work flexibly around a family. Because this is, 8 years ago. Back then it was even worse on the flexible working front in corporates than it is now. I think there has been some progress. And lots of women, really talented women, were leaving corporates to set up their own business. And there wasn't a natural legal provider for them. The traditional way of consuming legal services where you go into an office in the city to see a middle-aged man in a pinstripe suit who talks to you condescendingly about what you don't know. And I found that from talking to lots of business women, and these were bright women, but they were still not looking at legal matters because they didn't really know what they needed. They didn't know who to go and talk to, etc. So I really wanted to help those people. So I set up my entire business around helping those people. Very quickly became the go-to person for that niche and had more clients than I knew what to do with. And I was actually working longer hours than I had been at the city, which wasn't my plan at all. So for a couple of years, I'd been thinking about how do I get away from this time for money trap? Because I didn't want to, I'm giving you my story here rather than a bio. I hope that's okay.
That's fine.
It's interesting how I've arrived at the GDPR position. And so I wanted to get away from the time for money trap. And I didn't want to recruit lots of other lawyers. I'd rather stick hot pokers in my eyes, if I'm being completely honest, because, just not my scene at all to manage people who think they know more than anyone else, which lawyers typically do. And so I thought, okay, what else can I do? So I decided to productize my expertise, and I set up my legal academy that you mentioned earlier. And really I saw that there were two solutions for small businesses in the market at that time. One was you go and you pay a lawyer a one-to-one hourly rate, which wasn't very transparent typically, because you'd get quoted an hourly rate and then you'd get billed at the end of the project. Didn't really know how much that was going to cost you. And B, it was very expensive. And then at the other side of the spectrum, we were just seeing the emergence of template sites, but they were faceless. You didn't know who drafted them, whether they were even a qualified lawyer or knew what they were talking about. And they were being sold in a vacuum, so without any supporting materials or documents around them. And I had lots of clients coming to me and saying, I bought this template because I wanted to do this, but I can't understand it. Can you help me? And I'd look at it and see it was completely the wrong document for what they wanted. So it seemed to me there was this middle ground that solved my time for money problem, but helped small business owners really fully protect themselves, which the template sites at that time just weren't doing. So I created my online platform, which I called the Small Business Legal Academy. The reason I called it an academy is because I'm very clear the best thing that small businesses can do to protect themselves is be proactive about legal matters. And the vast majority don't. It's like people don't want to. It's not up there on your scale of interest. People would rather learn more about sales and marketing than they would about the types of legal issues that they're going to face. But, if you don't understand your legal issues, then it really is the thing that can sink a business. And I've seen the problems and the stress and the impact on health that it's had on small business owners. And that's why I'm so very keen on people knowing the impact of the law on your business is, and the very simple steps that you can take to stop there being legal problems, arising in the first place. So I created a course, an online course that sat alongside the template documents, the checklist, the video guides, etc. And it walks small business owners through the types of issues that they're likely to face. So that was back in, I've been running that for 5 years now. And that's been ticking along really nicely. We won a Law Society award for our pioneering work with that. We've had thousands of members go through the site. And I was happily doing that. GDPR came along and I was consulting with a multinational data company who obviously, GDPR is huge for them. I mean, gosh, small business owners think that they've got issues. I mean, you should have been in this company. Literally, they had a team of about 100 people, spending millions on being GDPR compliant. So I was consulting with them. And then it was quite funny, actually, because I run a group for business women called High Performing Women. And someone posted in there saying, have we got any GDPR experts? I'm really struggling to work out what this is all about. And I thought, my goodness, that's me. And I'm neglecting to serve my own community of small businesses here. And also around that time, I'd seen that, you know what it's like, small businesses. You go to a networking meeting and someone tells you something and you take it as read, don't you? And the number of just incorrect assumptions that were being bandied about within the small business community, I just felt it was my responsibility to do something about it. So I set up what I thought would become a little Facebook group. And that's probably how you came across me. I mean,
it was indeed. I came across it when it was a little Facebook group though, and now it's kind of this exponential GDPR space, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love the social media side. I think that's what sets me apart from other lawyers, actually. I'm actually a much better marketer and I'm much more interested in the marketing side, particularly online marketing, than probably 99% of other lawyers. I set up the Facebook group expecting we'd have maybe 5,000 people in it. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And I think the thing that made that happen was that I thought, okay, well, what I want to do here is help people who otherwise, small businesses aren't going to pay to go and sit in a lawyer's office to find out what they need to do to comply with GDPR. So I thought, well, what can I commit to that would be really helpful for these people? So I think the thing that set me apart was I committed to do a video a day for 90 days. Now, anyone who's tried that will know it's torture. It's absolute torture to have to sit. And I actually quite like doing videos, but still to sit there every day for 90 days, it doesn't matter what you're doing. For example, I was in Singapore at, what's that place called? Really lovely, popular touristy place that's quite new. Can't remember the name of it. Marina Bay Hotel, that's it. I want to say Spaglinos, but I think that's wrong. Spagos, that's it. Spagos. So really fancy place at the top of this amazing venue on my husband's 50th birthday with friends. And I had to sneak off and film my video. In the peak bit of GDPR, I was traveling around Singapore and Thailand and having to do a video a day. I was interviewed by Sky News on my phone in my hotel in Phuket, and it was just bonkers. And I think that's the thing that set me apart, because it was that consistency, and that there was no one else who was really making it accessible for small businesses. So we ended up, I think at the peak, it was at about nearly 37,000 people from all around the world. And in the run up to the couple of weeks in the run up to when it came into force, I was doing live Q&As, and we were getting thousands of people on those live Q&As. So in terms of the sales side, I decided to, I will let you ask me a question in a minute. I'm just getting
you go for it. It saves me a ton of talking.
But yeah, so I set up the group and I was doing these videos, and people were then asking me, okay, so have you got anything we can use? You know, have you got templates that we can use? And of course, you know, my answer is that a template only takes you half the way. You know, that's the whole point about GDPR. If you just get a template privacy policy and whack it up on your site and don't do anything else with it, then you're probably going to get in more trouble than doing nothing, because, you know, a regulatory authority will come along, know that you know about the issue, but you've not actually, you know, implemented it properly in your business. You've got to understand what data is coming in, what you're doing with it, where you're sending it, you know, etc., and then populate your template. So that's what I did. I created this pack, but around it was all of the supporting material so that people knew what they needed to do with it. You know, I made it really affordable, because I want every business, no matter what their size, to be able to afford it. So I think I started selling it at £97 for 20 documents plus 12 months of updates, which is just, you know, just a total no-brainer purchase. We increased it to 147 a month later, and then 197 I think a month after that. That's the current price now. And the sales just went bonkers. And the great thing is because I had this Facebook group and people seemed to like me, someone new would come into the group and say, you know, has anyone got any documents, or, you know, whatever. And 50 people would rush to that post and say, yes, just go and buy Suzanne's compliance pack. It's brilliant. So I actually didn't have to do that much selling. You know, my job was actually, when we realized it was going to be a big hit, you know, we started putting money into Facebook ads and Google ads. I have to say the Facebook ads perform much better than the Google ads. And I think, you know, I mean, in terms of our ROI on those Facebook ads, it was crazy. Now you've got to remember, this is unique circumstances, because it was a regulation that was just about to come into force. Businesses were really interested about it. The press were picking up on it, etc. So unique circumstances. But we sold nearly 5,000 copies of that pack, which is an awful lot of money in the space of 2.5-3 months. And yeah, so I'll stop and you can ask me a question.
I think it's just a really interesting point about, because yes, unique circumstances, but also about looking at the market and listening to the market and responding to the market. So many people that I talk to who want to build businesses, when I say, okay, what is it that you want to sell? They go, oh yeah, well, I've got this real passion about this and and I'm going to do that. But they haven't done any kind of market research or testing. And so sometimes their audience will come back to them and they'll say, yeah, we want this. And because it's not what that person wants to sell necessarily at that time, instead of going, cool, that's a new opportunity, what could I do with that? They go, no, goodbye. And they shut down and they shut the door. And so actually, the fact that you've listened to people who said, okay, Suzanne, you know, can we find anyone who's a GDPR expert? And you've gone, yeah, I know a bit about that. Great, let's do something with it. It just epitomizes that whole supply and demand piece. You know, ultimately, that's what sales is. You listen to your audience, they tell you what they need from you, and you go ahead and you provide that in the scenario or the situation that works for you. And I think that's just really important. The fact that you've gone out there, seen the need, decided to take it on, and made a huge success of it. I think it's phenomenal.
It's interesting because, you know, some people came into the group and they're like, oh, it's all videos. Is there nowhere that it's written? I was like, this is probably the wrong group for you then. Yeah. You don't like my videos. So, you know, I think, you know, but there are some people who would have heard that and think, oh, I've got to go and create written documents for everything because someone's asked for it. No, it's just, they're not my people. You know, that's how I best communicate, is on the video. And yeah, fortunately, and I guess I'd tested that before in other things that I'd done. I knew that, you know, people hanging out on Facebook, you know, quite a lot of the videos we captioned so that they could just watch little snippets of them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it worked for me, it worked for the audience. There were some people it didn't work for, and that's absolutely fine.
But it is interesting because I get a lot of people who come to me and they'll say, Jess, you know, one of the reasons that I can't make money is because I'm in a non-money making niche. So I get a lot of people who come to me and they'll go, I'm in the spirituality niche, I'm in the health and wellness niche, I'm in the like accountancy niche or something like that. And they'll go, that's why I'm not making sales, because I'm in a non-money making niche, because whatever it is that I'm selling isn't going to directly help somebody make more money. And the interesting thing for me, when I was thinking about people to talk to about this series, one was obviously the criteria around, have they been successful from a revenue generation perspective in their business or not? But the second one was, are we interviewing a breadth of entrepreneurs who've done lots of different things, so people can see it? You don't have to be in, I'm a business coach teaching other business coaches how to be business coaches just to make money, especially not online. And I think that's what we see so often in the online space. The only way you're going to make six figures, the only way you're going to make any money online is to be a business coach. And the reality for that, it just isn't true. It's just patently untrue.
No, I mean, ask someone like JJ Virgin or someone like that about whether there's any money in health and well-being. But I think that with the law, it is a purchase that people will begrudgingly make, and typically it's when they've suffered a legal problem. And this is my sales challenge, because as I said earlier, I really want people to buy and to educate themselves before those problems actually happen, because it's just so much easier to deal with. And I see that, having helped thousands of small business owners, but as a small business owner yourself, you're happy to stick your head in the sand and hope that nothing happens. And it's just not a winning strategy. But it is a purchase that people don't enjoy making. It's not, it's not something that's going to fill them with great joy typically when they've bought it. It's kind of I've got to buy whatever. And the way that I've got around that typically is I charge a certain, so the product itself, the Legal Academy, is worth thousands. I've always kept the price low, £697, but when I make the vast majority of my revenue is every year I'll do it used to be a Black Friday sale. I've just done a version of it now and it's not Black Friday, but that's because we're tweaking things next year. And I do it at a no-brainer price, and people will absolutely buy that because it's at a no-brainer price. And I really struggled with that myself, because I was like, oh, is it devaluing my product and da-da-da? But to me, if those people were never going to buy anyway, and they are, and okay, I'm sure that some of them will buy and not do anything with it. If X% do something with it and save themselves being hit with a court case or whatever it might be, then that's good for me. My thing is all about every business, no matter what the size, being able to afford what I do. So for those people who, that's just excuses, isn't it, really? It's just blatantly excuses. There is, you can sell anything. It's
you
just
really can.
How you do it.
And that's the thing. It is about how you do it. And it's also about looking at what works for you. I mean, you've mentioned discounting there, and discounting is huge for people. That can be a huge urgency driver. The one that I always suggest to people who are in like spirituality or health and wellness is consequences. I think one of the things that we see online in marketing all the time is, don't you just want the laptop lifestyle, and wouldn't life be great if, and da-da-da-da. But people can't always see those things because they're stuck in the pain point, right? They're stuck in the problem. And actually, sometimes if we talk honestly and transparently about what are the consequences of you not doing this, like for example, your small business legal academy, I'm a very proud affiliate. I love it. I think it's great. But one of the things that I always say to people when they say to me, Jess, should I bother buying a legal pack, or should I bother getting an accountant, or should I bother doing all these things, is, well, what are the consequences in 6 months if you don't? Because how much would a potential legal case cost you? It's not going to cost you £697. It's going to cost you a damn sight more, right? How much would it cost you not to file your taxes on time? It's going to cost you a huge amount. And I think sometimes we have to start looking at the reality of the situation, because not everything can be a perky Facebook ad that is live the laptop lifestyle, drink Mai Tais on the beach. Sometimes we have to take the responsibility for actively saying to our audience, do you know what? If you don't do this, whether you buy from me or not, you could end up with really severe consequences.
No, absolutely. And I'm working with Nikki Williams, who's one of our Empress members. She does, she's brilliant on the hormone side. I know I've got issues and I've been dilly-dallying for ages. And she said to me once, she said, look, you're risking osteoporosis, strokes and heart attacks by not sorting this out. Do you know what I did? Like literally the next day I'm on the phone and, sort it out. So I don't think we can shy away from telling people about the consequences. And that's what I do in my marketing materials, because that's the case, I think you're right. We have a responsibility to tell people what the worst case scenario is. And I'm not selling the laptop lifestyle. It's a little bit more boring than that, but it's probably going to be a much better investment that they're going to make than a £197 course on how you can become a millionaire in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, which we both know is not going to work, because how many times have we seen these courses go out there, and how many millionaires have they actually produced?
Exactly.
I think it is one of those things, I think when we're looking at this, particularly six-figure success journey, I think a lot of people are sold the dream. We're sold that six figures should be easy. That's the thing that I keep hearing from people is, oh, well, everyone told me it'd be really easy to make six figures. And I'm like, well, it's not that it's, and I think this is where I always differentiate, it's not that it's complicated. Making six figures, making any money is simple. There's a simple process. Have traffic, put offers that they want in front of them. That's it when it comes to sales. But it's not going to happen overnight. There's a difference between it being complicated and actually putting the time in and gaining traction and making it work, that people don't seem to be able to differentiate from, or that is being marketed to them, that I think is particularly dangerous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that this whole hang up about six figures or seven figures or whatever, I think having an arbitrary financial goal is, you get there and then you're like, oh, okay, so I've hit that. And in fact, one of my favorite sayings is, aim to become a millionaire, not because you're going to get that money or that arbitrary seven figure, whatever that amount of money in your bank account is. Aim for that goal because of the person who you're going to become in the getting to that financial goal.
Yes.
So I know, a lot of people are in a poor financial position and they want to change that, and that's great. But once you get to a certain level of comfort, it is arbitrary. I don't need to aim for 8 figures or anything like that because I've got everything I want now, But am I going to give up and rest on my laurels? No, because there's more stuff I want to do. There's more impact I want to have. There's more challenges I want to personally set myself, because that's how I grow. But yeah, I think people getting hung up on the six-figure thing it's just not a good idea, is it? I mean, because I suppose you've got to set the bar somewhere, but there are many other ways that you can measure your success in what you're doing. So, yeah.
I think it comes down to, you've got to recognize that sales is important in your business. Sales is the driver, because if you're not making money, then you don't have a business. You have a really expensive hobby. And that is, in some senses worse, because if you are making impact, but you're not making income, you can start to feel resentful of your audience. You can start feeling like it's not worth it, and you can actually end up giving up. Equally, if you're making income, but you're not making any impact, then you start going, oh, well, it's money, big deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, also there's not enough focus on profit. Anyone can get to six-figure turnover if you put enough money into the business, but you might not make any profit.
Exactly. So, and that's the thing. Once you take Facebook ads into consideration, or you start taking in any kind of coaching courses or marketing materials or anything like that, profit is wiped out really quickly.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was looking at, there was a typical launch when we were looking at the numbers that we'd done for my GDPR pack we really thought of it as a sort of 3-month launch, really, which is what it was. And there was somebody who'd shared £1 million launch figures. Mm-hmm. And broke it down into you got your £1 million in turnover, and then took out all your costs, including affiliate fees, which were a massive chunk. Yeah. Refunds were a massive chunk, and I have less than 1% refunds across all my products. So I was really surprised to see that. Paid traffic costs, etc., staff costs. Do you know how much profit this person was left with after slaving their? They must have slaved away to do £1 million launch, because it's not easy. But do you know how much they were left with?
No.
$36,000.
It just doesn't seem worth it for me. I'm like,
and whereas, for our profitability on the GDPR pack, it's huge compared to that. So, people have got to think about the profitability side of it as well.
100%. It's, again, building a successful business is not about being able to post on Facebook, I made this month. It's about looking at your profit margin. Last year our profit margin was 49%. I was really, really pleased with that. At the level that we're at as a business, actually 49% is really solid profit margin, given how much we'd invested into the growth of a new team, operations, all that kind of stuff. This year we'll be looking at a profit margin of over 56%. And again, when you consider how much is going into the business in terms of revenue, that's really good that we're retaining over half of it. But when you're looking at building these successful businesses, it's about profit. It's about protecting yourself legally and financially, making sure you know what to do with your money, make sure you know what to do if something goes wrong, but also then about enjoyment. Don't pick a business, don't build a business that you don't like, because if you do, you'll find that, again, it burns out really quickly. You either get frustrated with it, you start to resent it, and you forget to sell it because you just don't have the same passion or same desire to make impact or income that pushes you forward.
Absolutely. And not to build a business where you're a slave to it. I mean, I've just done this recent promo this last couple of weeks, and I've probably spent 2 hours on it.
Yeah,
I reckon. And, we brought in, probably percentage wise, I'm not sure, but, we did really well on that. So I think, for me, part of what I consider success as well is how much time I can spend with my kids and go on holiday with them in the school holidays, how much I can automate, how much my team can deal with, etc. So yeah, I think, this singular focus, there's so much more to consider in success rather than a 6-figure business is my view. There's lots more to consider.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on today. Seriously, this has been amazing. And I know that there are going to be a bunch of people listening who are like, I need to go and protect my business ASAP. And now I want Suzanne to help me do that. Where can they find you?
Well, my website is suzannedibble.com. It is terribly, I want to say 1990s. Let's say it's due a revamp. I mean, it is going to be revamped very soon. So forgive the awful black images and things like that. But that's the place you can go find me. You can send me a message through that. My GDPR pack is plastered all over that. If you still need to get that, then go and grab that. There's also my legal academy on there as well if you want more than the GDPR pack. Otherwise, connect with me on Facebook. That's my main place where I hang out. Be nice to know that you've heard this interview and are interested in connecting. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm gutted that we're ending. I could go another half hour at least, I reckon.
We'll have to do another one. We'll just do it in like 2019. Be like, right, okay, what does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel we could talk for a lot longer. But no, that's been great. Thank you so much for having me. I know you've got a list of illustrious guests that you're interviewing, so I feel very honoured to be included.
No, you were one of our absolute first choices.
Oh, I bet you say that to everyone.
No. Ashley Ambijay, I was like, you have to be first on my list because I have followed her for like 10 years. And I was super fangirl about it. But you were right there because I was like, legal is really important. People need to know it. We need to protect ourselves. We need to protect our businesses. It might not be the sexy option, but it's the smart option. And I think that for me was the important thing. So if you
I might take that as my new tagline: be smart, not sexy.
Yes, do it. It will be great. I don't need any credit. Just So thank you ever so much. And if you are somebody who needs to protect your business, please make sure you go over and visit SuzanneDibble.com. Check out her GDPR pack, check out her Small Business Academy, both of which I have and use regularly and think are absolutely amazing. I will see you in the next episode. If you've been enjoying the 6-Figure Success series, then I hope that you will take this opportunity to grab your totally free, actionable workbook where you can record your key takeaways, your key action points, and hear my key learns from this series as well. It's jam-packed full of all of the interviewees who've participated and taken part in the series, as well as a few bonus key extras from me. You can go and download it right now using the link in the show notes. I'll see you inside the workbook.